The sky turned orange. Commander Riven stood on the balcony of the human outpost, eyes fixed on the horizon. Dust storms rose like waves of fire. Every soldier in the camp was silent, waiting. They had been hearing strange signals for days, but no one expected what came next. Boom. The ground shook. A flash lit up the desert beyond the walls, then another, then 100 more. Warships. Someone shouted from the tower that it wasn't just an attack, that it was a full invasion. Alien ships broke through the sky like falling meteors. They weren't the peaceful traders or wandering explorers. These were war machines, silver-black with glowing blue lights, shaped like serpents and shadows. They came with no warning, no message, no reason. The humans barely had time to power the defense systems. Riven ran down the stairs and shouted, "To your stations! Protect the gates! No one gets through!" Alarms blared across the camp, sirens, flashing red lights. Soldiers scrambled, loading plasma rifles and taking cover behind steel walls. But it didn't matter. Within 10 minutes, the outer gates exploded. And the aliens came. They moved faster than anything human eyes could follow. Thin, tall, with pale skin and shining armor. Their eyes were sharp, cold, no emotion, no mercy. The humans fought back, but they were losing ground quickly. Screams echoed across the compound. Fire spread. Buildings cracked. The command center was hit. Riven ducked as debris fell near him. "Evacuate the non-combatants." He yelled into his com. A soft voice answered, broken by static. "Too late." Then silence. It wasn't just the base. It was happening across the planet. Earth was under attack by a species humans had never seen before. But why? And then, just as fast as it started, the enemy vanished. The sky turned blue again. The silence was painful. Only a few humans survived in that camp. And Riven was one of them. Night came quickly, too quickly. Most of the camp was in ruins. The wounded were being treated in the backup med bay. Riven sat alone in the corner of the barracks, holding his helmet in his hands. His mind was racing. His heart was heavy. Then something moved. A soft sound behind him. The door to his private room creaked open. He turned sharply and pointed his weapon. And froze. Standing in the doorway was a figure tall, thin, wrapped in a dark cloak. The face was half covered. But the shape, it wasn't human. It was one of them. Riven aimed. The figure raised her hands slowly. "Please," she whispered. "Don't shoot." Her voice was soft, tired. She stepped into the room, and her face came into the light. She was young, alien, beautiful in a strange, otherworldly way. Her skin glowed faintly under the dim lights. Her eyes were filled with something that shocked Riven, fear. He didn't lower his weapon. "What do you want?" She didn't step closer. Can I sleep next to you tonight, human?" she asked, trembling. "They're hunting me too," Riven blinked. His finger hovered near the trigger. He didn't know what to do. Was this a trick? A trap? Or was she really running from her own kind? Before he could answer, she slowly sat down near the edge of the floor, her arms around her knees. She didn't speak again. She just stared at the wall, shaking slightly. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the silence grew heavier. Riven looked at her again, his enemy. But maybe not anymore. He had a choice to make, and in that moment, everything changed. The night was cold. Riven sat on the edge of his bed, watching the alien girl. She hadn't moved since she entered the room. Her body was still, but her shoulders shook now and then, like she was crying quietly without sound. He didn't even know her name. The only thing he knew was that she was supposed to be the enemy. But enemies didn't beg. Enemies didn't tremble like scared children. And enemies didn't ask to sleep next to you like that, with fear in their voice. Riven slowly lowered his weapon. He didn't trust her. Not yet. But something inside him said she was different. He walked to the other side of the room and pulled out a blanket. He tossed it toward her. She didn't move at first. Then, slowly, she reached out and touched the blanket like it was made of glass. Her hands were thin. Her fingers had a faint blue glow. "Thank you," she whispered. "Who are you?" Riven asked, standing with his arms crossed. The girl looked up. Her eyes reflected the room's dim light. They were large, violet, and sad. "My name is Zira." She spoke like someone learning human words for the first time. Careful. Slow. Riven narrowed his eyes. "Why are you here?" Zira pulled the blanket around her shoulders and sat on the floor near the wall. Her voice was almost a whisper. "I ran away. I didn't want the war." Riven didn't speak. She kept going, her words trembling. "My people, the Valkyrie, they don't show kindness, only power. If you're weak, you're left behind. If you question the war, you disappear." She looked down. I questioned it. The silence between them grew heavy. Riven could hear the wind outside, the soft beeping of the damaged bass, and her quiet breath. "And now they want to kill you?" he asked. Zira nodded. "I escaped one of the warships. Hid in the rocks. I've been walking for days." "Your camp was the closest thing with light." Riven sat down on the bed again. He looked at her. She looked tired, her face pale, her hands bruised, her cloak torn. She didn't have weapons, no armor. Just fear. Still, he couldn't ignore what she was. "You helped them attack us," he said coldly. Zira shook her head. "No, I was in training. I never stepped into battle. I never fired a weapon. I swear." Riven stared at her. His mind was at war. Logic said she could be lying. Heart said she was telling the truth. He sighed and looked away. "You picked the wrong room." She looked up, confused. He pointed to the door. "This is the commander's room. They'll search here first." Zira's lips parted. She looked at the walls, then at him. I didn't know." Riven stood up. "You need to hide." Her eyes widened. "Hide? I'm not going to let them kill you, not yet. But if anyone sees you, they'll shoot first. No questions." Zira hesitated, then slowly stood. Her body swayed a little. She was weaker than she showed. Riven opened the small cabinet behind the wall panel. It was barely big enough for supplies. "But it would do. Get in now," he said. Zira didn't argue. She stepped inside, crouched down, and pulled the blanket tight. Riven shut the panel. A second later, boom. A loud knock hit the door. Riven's hand shot to his weapon. "Commander." A voice called from outside. "Patrol team status check. Anyone come through here?" He walked to the door, calm on the outside, storming inside. "Just dust and silence," he replied, opening it slightly. 3 soldiers stood outside. Their armor was dusty, faces tired. One of them had a scanner. Another had a blood-stained boot. "We found tracks. Someone crossed the eastern fence line." "Not human," the lead soldier said. Riven frowned. "We've got enough wounded already. Keep searching the west side. I'll scan this wing myself." They nodded and walked away. Riven closed the door and locked it. He walked back to the panel. Tapped it. The door clicked open. Zira was inside, hugging her knees. Eyes wide, breath shallow. "They're gone," Riven said. She looked at him, shaking. "Why are you helping me?" He didn't know the answer. He only knew that she shouldn't die tonight. "Because something tells me," he said quietly, "you're more scared than dangerous." She looked away, hiding her face behind the blanket. He sat down again. Neither of them spoke for a long time. And somewhere outside, in the cold ruins of the camp, something moved again. The wind outside howled like a ghost. Inside the small room, Riven sat on the floor with his back against the wall. His eyes stayed on the metal panel where Zira had hidden just minutes ago. Even though the patrol was gone, he hadn't fully relaxed. Everything still felt wrong. The war had started without warning. Now, One of the enemy was sitting in his room, trembling under a blanket, asking to sleep near him like a lost child. Riven had seen many things in his time as a soldier, but this was new. He finally stood up and opened the panel. Zira slowly looked up, blinking like her eyes had not adjusted to light yet. "Is it safe?" she whispered. "For now," Riven replied. She stepped out, rubbing her arms. Her legs were shaky. She looked at the blanket like it was the only soft thing left in the world. Riven walked to the cabinet and grabbed a ration. "Bar." He tossed it to her. She caught it slowly, stared at it, then looked up. "You trust me enough to feed me?" "I trust you enough to not die in my room," he said coldly. Zira gave a small, tired smile. "That's something." She sat against the far wall and began eating. Her hands were still shaking. Riven noticed a bruise on her shoulder, dark and swollen. "You're hurt," he said. She nodded. "When I jumped from the ship, hit the rocks." Riven crouched beside her. His voice was lower now, less sharp. "You should have gone to the med bay. I would have been killed the second they saw my face." He didn't argue. She was right. For humans, all Valkyrie were the enemy. And for the Valkyrie, anyone like Zira, a deserter, was worse than a traitor. Riven turned away and tapped his device. The power was low and some systems were broken, but he managed to scan the area. 2 signals, pinged just outside the base perimeter. Human. They're back. He muttered. Zera looked up quickly. "Who?" "Your people." She stiffened. No, they wouldn't come for me so soon." "Maybe they tracked you. Maybe they never stopped." Zira stood slowly. Her face was pale. Her voice cracked. "If they find me, they'll make an example out of me. She couldn't finish the sentence. Riven reached for his weapon and checked the battery. Then he opened the supply drawer and handed her a small energy knife. "This is all I've got," he said. "Keep it close." Zira held it with both hands. Her fingers wrapped tightly around the handle. "Thank you." Suddenly, a noise echoed from the hallway. Footsteps. Fast. Then a voice sharper. Colder, not human. "She's here." Riven's heart raced. He pushed Zira back into the panel and shut it again. This time, he grabbed a spare crate and rolled it in front to block the view. The footsteps grew louder. Riven stood in the center of the room, calm but ready. The door burst open. Tall figure entered, sleek, armored, with glowing tattoos on his face. Valkyrie elite. Not a soldier. A hunter. His eyes scanned the room like a machine. The alien said, "This is human territory," Riven said, steady. "You don't belong here." The alien stepped forward. His voice was low, dangerous. "I'm not here for your kind." "Just the girl." Riven didn't flinch. "There's no girl here." The hunter tilted his head. "We tracked her. Weak heart. Broken signal. She's close." Riven placed his hand on his holster. "Then track somewhere else." A long silence passed. The alien stared at him, cold, calculating. Then with a slow breath, he turned toward the door. "She'll die anyway," he said, "whether today or tomorrow." He walked out without another word. Riven waited until the sound of footsteps disappeared. Then he ran to the panel and opened it. Zira fell forward, gasping for air. Her whole body was trembling. "I couldn't breathe," she whispered. He helped her sit. She looked up at him, eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Why?" she asked. "Why what? Why are you protecting me? I'm one of them, your enemies." Riven didn't answer right away. He looked at the floor, then at her. "You're not like them," he said. "You asked to sleep beside me, not kill me. That's enough reason for now." Zira's lips trembled. She looked like she might cry, but then she reached into her cloak and pulled out something small, something glowing. It looked like a crystal. "What is that?" Riven asked. "Proof," she said quietly. "Proof of what they're doing." "What they plan next?" Riven's eyes narrowed. And just like that, the war became something else. Riven stared at the small glowing crystal in Zira's hand. It pulsed softly with a blue-green light. Not bright, but alive, like it was breathing. He had never seen anything like it before. "What is that?" he asked again. Zira held it carefully, like it might break if she breathed too hard. "It's called a memory shard. It records everything the holder sees and hears. I stole it from the command deck before I ran." Riven's breath caught. "You have recordings from the Valkyrie warship?" She nodded. He sat down next to her, his mind racing. "What's inside it?" Zira looked around the room, then whispered, "Plans. Details of attacks, secret orders, and what they really want from Earth." Riven's stomach dropped. "You mean it's not about land?" "No," Zira said softly. "They don't want to conquer. They want to harvest." Riven leaned closer. "Harvest what?" Zira hesitated. Then she whispered, "Your minds." Riven blinked. "What?" "Your creativity. Your imagination. Valkyrie minds are efficient, logical, but cold. They can't create like humans do. No music, no painting, no stories, no dreams. That's why they started watching your world from afar. They call it mental resource extraction." Riven was silent. He had fought wars before, over oil, over power, over planets, but this was different. "And you brought this proof with you?" he asked. "Yes. I knew if I could get it to someone who mattered, someone who thinks, they might see the truth." "You think I'm that someone?" Zira looked up. Her violet eyes were calm now. "I think you're the only one who hasn't killed me yet." Riven didn't answer. Crystal shimmered again. He reached out and touched it with one finger. Images flashed in his mind-blue halls. Alien officers speaking in strange voices. Star maps, a cold voice saying, "Extract all dreamers, begin the purge." He pulled his hand away, heart pounding. It was real. Suddenly, the door beeped. Riven turned sharply. He grabbed his weapon. "They're back," Zira said, backing into the shadows. The door opened again, but this time, it wasn't a Valkyrie. It was Lieutenant Rayla, one of Riven's best officers. She had short black hair, tired eyes, and blood on her arm. "Commander," she said, stepping inside quickly. "Something's happening. They've surrounded the base again. 2 more warships just landed. Silent landings. No message." Riven cursed under his breath. Rayla glanced at the room. "Are you alone?" He nodded slowly. "Just getting rest. What's the plan?" Rayla handed him a data chip. "Command wants everyone to fall back to Echo Point. But the evacuation is slow. We've lost contact with 3 towers. Any civilians left?" "Maybe 10, but we don't have much time." Riven looked at the panel. Zira was silent behind it. Rayla's eyes narrowed slightly. "You sure you're okay?" "Just tired," Riven said. She didn't push. 10 minutes, then we move." She turned and left. The moment the door shut, Riven opened the panel. Zira stepped out, her hand on her blade. "They're bringing more," Riven said. Zira nodded. "They're preparing for a full extraction. They'll take anyone they find, even children." He looked at her. "We need to move." "You come with me." Zira frowned. "Why? I'll slow you down." "No. You'll keep me alive." She gave a weak smile. "We're really doing this?" Riven handed her a small device. "This is a scrambler. It'll hide your signal for a short time. But if they scan directly, it's useless." "Understood." Riven peeked outside. The hallway was dim. Fires flickered on the upper levels. The base was crumbling. Time was running out. They moved together, fast but quiet. Zira stayed close, her cloak wrapped tight. Every step felt like walking on a wire. Then, just before they reached the stairs, a loud screech echoed through the hallway. Zira stopped. Her face went pale. "What is it?" Riven asked. She shook her head. That's not a war cry. That's a tracker beast. They brought one inside. They never stop once they smell their target. They ran, but behind them, the beast was getting closer. A shadow moved across the wall, long claws, sharp teeth, glowing red eyes. Zira whispered, "If it catches me, shoot me." Riven didn't answer, because he already knew the beast wasn't here to kill her, it was here to drag her back alive. The hallway was shaking. Riven and Zira ran as fast as they could, their boots thudding against the steel floor. Behind them, the tracker beast growled a deep, low sound that made the walls vibrate. It was close. Too close. The air was filled with smoke and sparks. The upper level of the base had caught fire during the last attack. Lights flickered above them. Red alarms flashed along the corridors. They had to reach the evac point. But every corner was a new risk. Riven turned sharply and fired 3 shots. Behind them, the plasma bolts hit the wall, but the beast was fast. It moved like liquid shadow, slithering and crawling across walls and ceilings. Its eyes glowed red in the smoke. Zira gasped, stumbling. Riven grabbed her wrist. "Don't stop. I'm trying." They pushed through a broken door and entered a stairwell. But the stairs were cracked. Some steps were missing. Steel was twisted like melted paper. "Jump!" Riven shouted. He leaped down the gap, landing hard on the next floor. Zira hesitated. Then the beast howled behind her. She jumped and fell short. Riven reached out and caught her just in time. Their hands locked. Her body swung, dangling over the edge. "Hold on," he growled. She cried out, her grip slipping. Her cloak tore slightly. With a final pull, he dragged her up. They both fell to the ground, panting. The door ahead burst open, and more smoke came through. Zira looked at him, eyes wide. Why did you save me again?" Riven helped her stand. "Because you're not my enemy anymore." She looked away, breathing fast. "Thank you." They kept moving. 2 more corridors. A security checkpoint. A collapsed hallway. They passed 2 soldiers lying still on the floor. One was burned. The other, torn apart. Zira covered her mouth. Riven lowered his eyes but kept walking. Finally, they reached the lower hangar. The evac ships were parked inside small crafts, just enough to carry out survivors, but most of them were damaged. One was already taking off. Only one remained. Rayla was waving from the hatch. "Commander, hurry!" Riven ran. Zira followed. The beast roared again behind them. They didn't turn back. As they reached the ramp, a loud crash echoed from the hangar ceiling. The tracker beast dropped down, claws scraping the floor. Rayla's eyes widened. "What the hell is that?" "Shoot!" Riven shouted. The crew opened fire. Plasma bolts lit up the room, but the beast was armored. It jumped sideways, dodging every hit. Then it leaped toward Zira. She raised her arm, the crystal still hidden in her cloak, and suddenly the beast froze. It growled. Confused, Zira's body glowed slightly. The memory crystal pulsed. The beast backed away, growling, but didn't attack. "What's happening?" Riven asked. Zira turned to him. "The crystal. It holds a command signature from their high leader. It's confusing the beast." "So it won't kill you?" "No," she whispered. "But it will follow me. And if it ever finds a clean signal, it will drag me back." Riven looked at her, then at the ship. They had seconds to choose. He grabbed her hand. "Get on." Now they ran up the ramp. The door shut behind them. Rayla stared at Zira. "Is that Valkyrie?" Riven nodded. "She's with us." Rayla didn't like it, but she didn't argue. She turned to the pilot. "Take off." The engines roared. As the ship rose, Riven looked out the window. The beast was below, standing still in the fire and smoke, staring at them. It didn't chase. Not yet. Zera collapsed into a seat, holding her side. Her breath was shallow. Riven sat beside her. "You okay?" She nodded, just tired. She looked out the window too. Her face was full of pain, but not just fear. Something deeper, regret, guilt. I didn't want this war, she whispered. But now I think I might be the only one who can end it. Riven looked at her. Then we keep you alive, he said. No matter what, she turned to him slowly. Even if it means war with your own command? He didn't hesitate. Yes. And for the first time, Zira smiled a real smile. Far behind them, in the dark corners of the burning planet, the other Valkyrie ships were rising again, and this time they knew exactly where to go. The ship flew through the upper atmosphere, leaving the burning planet behind. Zeera sat in the corner, still holding the memory crystal tightly in both hands. Her skin was pale. Her breathing was slow, but her eyes, they were clear, focused. Across from her, Riven stood near the cockpit with Lieutenant Rayla. The pilot guided the ship through debris fields and broken skies. Wreckage from human and alien warships floated everywhere. Any response from command? Riven asked. Rayla shook her head. Static, no signals. We're alone. Riven turned and looked back at Zira. She hadn't moved. He walked to her quietly. You okay? She nodded. Just thinking. He crouched beside her. About what? Zira looked up. Her violet eyes were glowing faintly again. About what comes next. Riven took a slow breath. You said the crystal holds proof of what the Valkyrie are doing. How do we show it? There's only one way, she said softly. A wide signal, open frequency broadcast. Something powerful enough to reach every military, every colony. Once they see what's inside, they'll know the truth. Can you do that from this ship? Zira shook her head. Not strong enough. Then where? She looked out the window. The relay tower on Lunar Station 4. It's still active. If we can reach it, I can upload everything. Rayla leaned over. That station is controlled by Central Command. If they find her, they'll shoot, Riven finished. But we don't have a choice. The pilot turned. Then we better hurry. Valkyrie ships are behind us. 5 of them. Zira stood up, wincing. They're tracking the crystal. It's only a matter of time, Riven nodded. Then we beat them there. The ship jumped into high-speed drive. 30 minutes later, they arrived at Lunar Station 4, an old silver moon base floating over Earth's orbit. Half the station was damaged, but the main relay still blinked green. We land on Pad 7, the pilot said. No permission. We go in hard. The ship dove through defenses. Red lights flashed across the lunar surface. Defense turrets turned but. Riven sent a coded override. Authorization. Commander Riven. Emergency override. Repeat, do not fire. They landed rough. Riven and Zira rushed down the ramp. Rayla and 2 soldiers followed. Inside the relay building, the halls were silent, empty. Power flickered. The air was thin. They reached the broadcast room. Zeera sat at the main console, connected the crystal, and began typing. The screen lit up. Alien. Code appeared. Then voices, images. Zira's face was full of focus. Sweat ran down her neck. Her hands didn't stop moving. Riven watched the door. Hurry. Almost there. Then a blast shook the station. The Valkyrie had arrived. Riven turned to the soldiers. Hold them off. Rayla nodded. Go finish this. The doors opened. Gunfire filled the halls. Zira screamed as a spark burst from the panel. Power's failing. Riven rushed to the console. How do we fix it? She looked at him. Manual signal boost. Outside the station, near the antenna. I'll go. No, I need to go. Only I can complete the link. She stepped forward. Riven grabbed her shoulders. You won't survive. Out there without a suit. She looked into his eyes. Then let me borrow yours. He froze. Zira smiled softly. You saved me again and again. Let me do this, Riven. Let me save them now. His hands trembled, but he nodded. They swapped gear. She slipped into the suit. He helped her tighten it. Don't die. She placed her hand on his chest. Not until I finish this. Then she ran. Outside, on the frozen moon surface, Zira climbed the old tower. Shots echoed behind her. Ships circled above, but she reached the antenna. She connected the crystal to the transmitter. Hit broadcast. And the universe listened. Voices from the warship played on every human frequency. Orders from Valkyrie generals. Plans to erase human dreams. A secret operation named Mind Harvest. People everywhere heard it. Anger, shock, fear. Then unity. The war changed that second. But on the moon a ship hovered overhead. Zeer. Looked up. A Valkyrie hunter stood inside. Looking down, he raised his weapon. The blast hit the tower. Everything went white. Back inside, Riven screamed her name and ran outside. The tower was burning. He reached the base and saw her lying on the ground. Motionless, he dropped to his knees, but her lips moved. He leaned down. She whispered, "Did they hear it?" He nodded, eyes full of tears. They did. Her fingers brushed his hand. Then it was worth it. And her hand went still. The stars above them shone brighter than ever. 1 month later, peace talks began. The humans united. The Valkyrie splintered. Many refused to follow the old leaders, but more than that, people remembered a strange girl from another world. An alien who once said, "Can I sleep next to you tonight, human?" And a soldier who said, "Yes." Together, they changed everything. Forever.